today we're going to kind of delve a little bit deeper into that elbow escape. Particularly, we're going to talk about what essentially is the most common variation of the elbow escape. I'll start out with this. I personally prefer the pant leg version that we drilled at the beginning of class. I think that by and large, if you consider the variables of like what the person on top is going to try to do and what is required to happen for the version that we're going to go into today, I feel like the pant leg, grabbing the pant leg and stuffing it down is way more accessible for one. Like you're going to find way more scenarios where that's the scenario you're in. Way more scenarios where that's the scenario you're in. He said eloquently. And you're also going to deal with, there's a sort of a point in this version of the elbow escape, the sort of classic elbow escape, where there's a degree of mobility limitation and also where people's leg length can start to become a bit of a challenge, both really short and really long, which one could argue, if a technique requires your legs to be not too short and not too long, like if it's the Goldilocks of techniques, that seems like kind of dicey. But it is a good escape when it's the right context, so it's important to go over for today. But I would say lead with the pant leg, and if the conditions are created for this, which there's one specific scenario I will not be getting into today that facilitates this one really well, but if the conditions are there, this is a very solid escape. So I have Jimmy on top of me in the mouth. Now, same scenario as before. I'm going to make him post his hands. I just want to make one note, and I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds on this. This should be relatively self-explanatory, but in the same sense that I can force him to post his hands, if Jimmy just like grabs the back of my head and posts his hand wide, I mean, it's like I'm still in the same basic scenario where I can make this happen. So if he chooses to distribute his weight, these escapes are there as well. Now, here's the thing. He has an advantage and a disadvantage by doing that. He distributed his weight, so he's easier to move around, but he also has more posts, and he can also access more attacks. There's not really a lot of attacks from postured up in the mount. Most of them involve you getting lower. Anyway, regardless of how it happens, we'll say I knee under the tailbone, bridge, blah, blah, blah. What I am looking for is I want to get my elbow on the inside of his knee. Can you see that, John? Is that on? Great. Cool. Very important nuance here. I am not like trying to get like myself way deep in there, in the sense of I don't want to be like forearm deep. I just need to get my elbow to clear. You see that? So it's just a shallow, just on the inside between us, right? If his knees are pinched really tight, this will not really be accessible. You see a lot of people fight, like trying to force this to happen, and they're like, go ahead and pinch really tight. Ugh. It's like, this is not the moment, dude. But he widened his base, so that creates the opportunity, right? From here, I'm going to start out with the first thing that needs to happen. What I am going to try to do is connect my knee to my elbow. So the way I will do that is I'm going to turn my hips over. It's the same forearm frame that we had in the last one. My elbow's poking out on one side, my hand's poking out on the other. I'm trying to, like if he wasn't here, let me actually get you off me for 5 seconds. Bring my knee under my elbow, like this. So I'm trying to make them shave over each other. Back please. So I got him here. So the way I'm going to do that is just by grinding this knee down, sliding this knee up. Okay? If I can make this happen right there, we're good to go. Hook the foot, shrimp, get my underhook and so on. Sometimes that's not super accessible, so it involves the next step. And this is where the mobility stuff starts to become a factor. So I've got my elbow inside, and I'm trying to shave, but this foot is sort of blocking my way. So I need to get it out of the way. So the way I'm going to do that, leg flattens. I want to turn my hips over enough to catch this foot. This is the part where people have trouble. I want to make one note that will help this, because this is what I see a lot of people do. It's like they're flat, and they go like this. Coach, this doesn't work. I cannot access this. Like, let me get you off one more time. Let me make a quick general advisory note. Do not ever do anything that involves you doing this to your leg. I mean, like, you'll see techniques. There's temptation. I could do rubber guard. All right? You will pop your knees, you will fuck up your knees, and you will be old, and you won't be able to do jiu-jitsu anymore. Do not turn your foot in like this. This is dumb. Every rule is made to be broken, but generally speaking, this one, don't break it. This is bad alignment. I mean, like, would you do anything else like this? Right? This is not safe alignment. Look at that. Instead, I'm here. I'm trying to shave, but his foot's kind of blocking me. So I'm not going to try to reach my foot to his knee or ankle. I'm trying to reach my knee over his ankle and then plant the inside of my foot. You see that? So I'm not bringing my foot inward and trying to scoop this way. I'm trying to, almost like as if I was trying to run. My knee stays in front of me. This makes it a lot more accessible. From here, I'm trying to get this foot into this half guard here. Once again, people have a big problem with this. Do me a favor, make that foot heavy, please. And they'll try to do like this. Coach, I cannot lift his foot. And I will say, yes, that is true. You cannot lift that foot. That is this is a weird, imagine like trying to lift like weights like this. Right, that would be ridiculous. I'm not going to try to lift his foot. I'm going to try to drag his foot over my calf, or my hamstring, kind of my groin area. Can we put it back, please? So it's not a lift. It's a drag. I want to think of it like a tire's going over a speed bump. It goes right there. From here, knee to elbow, switch, escape, and get up to my underhook. So I'll go one more time through all that. You want to see that, Jimmy? Yeah. Good. Tony, can you grab me, please? Excellent. So we're in the mount. Again, his hands are posted, whether it's like he did it, he's like grabbed my head or something, or it's just, hey, I bridged, I made him post. Doesn't really matter for today's purposes. Both scenarios will make this potentially accessible if his knees are wide. If his knees are wide, I can get my elbow in there, we're good to go. If his knees are pinched really tight, I cannot get my elbow in there. This is stupid. Do not try it. Don't waste your time with this. I mean, I guess you could theoretically waste your time with this if you want him to think you're trying to do this, and then you would go to the escape that would actually work. There's a merit in that. But like, if I'm thinking I'm going to be able to like force this knee apart, I mean, he's got all his weight on his knees. I mean, 50% of his weight on his knees anyway, and they're pinching together, and I have an elbow. This is not a fair, this is a pretty uneven fight at my expense, right? If you think about it. So, but if his knees are wide, elbow comes in, okay? First thing, like the easiest version, that, I should also note, outside foot always wants to scoop on the inside. So unless I'm specifically doing something that involves me getting my foot to the outside, I always want my feet on the inside. Leg drops, and then let's say you just be relaxed with that foot. If I can't, I'm just going to shave that knee to my elbow. So I end up kind of in this weird spot where my knee is kind of right next to my elbow. Hook, plant, hip escape, and we go to our arm. That's one. Two, I go for that, but his foot's just kind of being obtuse. I can't really get it out of the way. If I try to turn my foot this way, and I try to do any of these escapes, this is what will happen. It will not look, it will be stupid. It will not work. So the first thing I need to do is almost kind of bump him in the butt again and just plant that. So you see my knee is in front of my foot. Second thing, I try to lift. I try to lift it. Go ahead, you can make that foot a little heavy. If I try to lift it, it just will not go anywhere. Instead, I'm driving it back, like as if I'm trying to bring my heel to my butt. Once I have that ankle, I should be good to go. I'm going to shave my knee to my elbow, boom, switch, hip escape, get my underhook, flip up, and half position. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. I will partner up, work it out. 1, 2, 3.